Okay.
Yeah, my father built the lighthouse out there. He and another gentleman that worked for a United Food Company called Griffin, Mr. Griffin. That's all I remember. I was 2 years old at the time. So I can remember that far back. Okay, when you would look down here, you would see fish all around. There's no fish anymore. We used to run and kick the fish, the fry up on the beach, yeah. The sharks used to come around the island. There was so much fish in here, the sharks used to come around, yeah. Down at the slaughterhouse, you see that piece of concrete down there by the Shepherd Beach? That used to be the slaughterhouse. You would have to take the beef, the cattle, the day before and tie it there, and the chief of police would go inspect the beef before they killed it, okay? And the blood from that on Fridays, basically on a Friday, they would kill beef. The blood would draw the sharks in. It was that many sharks around here at the time, yeah. And you would see them running back and forth. At one time I happened to see the shark running after some fish, and they run aground down by my mother's place, the central area by Mr. Netler, Tranquila. That's all used to be open space. All those homes were not there. When we were growing up on the island here, there wasn't any crowd. You'd have a home, a baseball field, a soccer field, and another home. That's the way Utila was. And it's not what this is not what what Utila used to be in Anglo time.
Where'd all the sharks go?
Pardon?
How'd all the sharks disappear?
The fish, I guess they went with the fish. And to jump ahead of the story, I figure about 10 years ago they had the red tide come through, and that wiped a lot of the fish out, and that eliminated a lot of fish here on the island. Could you remember that time? Well, the fish was all over the beaches. I was not here, but I was, in contact with people. The fish was all over the place, just dead. The same red tide that goes through Florida came through here, and it hurts. It hurts a lot of the fish, all the fish. Okay, in the beginning, my time, we're talking about from 1950 onward. The lights on Utila used to come on at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and they would shut off at 9:15 at night. We used to pay 1 lempira a month for a light.
1 lempira.
For that length of time. If you had a light, you would pay 1 lempira for the light.
Wow. I wish that multa is gonna come back.
But remember, back then, my father, they were not bragging, but there's no anybody could match him as a carpenter. He only made 2 lempiras a day, 3 lempiras a day. So it was a lot of money you could buy,
What was your father's name?
Lloyd George Bodden.
Oh,
Yeah, they were all the second generation from Grand Cayman. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead right now to how they got on Utila, how the old people got on Utila. Okay. My grandfather was born in, I think, 1884. From Grand Cayman. I do not know why they left Grand Cayman. Grand Cayman was just like basically Utila at that time. They to get employment from Grand Cayman, they moved on to Chicago. Back then in the U.S., you didn't have the immigration law. They moved on to Chicago. All of the industry back then was logging, lumber, cotton. So he moved to Chicago, worked in Chicago, and his family, the Boddens, you can go on the internet, you can bring it up, they lived in Alabama, Fairhope, Alabama. It's just right across from Mobile, and his brother owned the export business out of Alabama. Well, From there, he moved to Belize. And from Belize to Utila. The first inhabitants on the island was at the Keys, Utila Keys, the lower Keys. What they call the lower Keys? Yeah. Why they settled there in the beginning was because there was so much, it was so bountiful, the wildlife. They didn't have to go far, they just go to the Key and get everything they wanted, and the meat kind.
I guess the Keys and that beginning had more people than you.
Oh, there was nobody in Utila. The people were there. Now you got to remember. Let's see. Let me go back to the Spanish was the first one inhabiting the Bay Islands. Huh? The Indians. The Spanish came and killed the Indians off. The Indian cemeteries are right here on the island. Yeah. Bamboo's an Indian cemetery. Where they were building them homes up there, the graves were more. You can go up there and the graves are out of the ground.
Where that is?
In Bamboo.
Bamboo.
You know down there where Faye built her home and all that? Faye,
yeah.
All that area. Alex was digging right there, and you see the bones right there. The human.
Wow.
Is that near Jericho, like beyond Jericho?
It's between the airport.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know where the baseball field? All that is bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the Indian cemetery. Yeah. So let's see where we're at right now. So my grandfather and those, they came, they settled here, I guess, in the late, around 1900, something like that. Yeah. Okay, back then on the island, everybody was Anglo-Saxon, which is, and you also had the Negroes. They came from Jamaica.
The Negroes are the
They
black.
came from Jamaica, or the blacks. They moved from there to Mexico. From Mexico, they moved to Belize.
From Belize.
Belize to here. Okay. Back then, everything was segregated. Blacks and whites went their way. And during the day, they were best of friends. At night, when they went to dances, they separated. You know?
Yeah, I heard that.
So that was that. Back then, Utila had no currency. But the old Anglos, there were 3 currencies on the island. They printed their own money. They made their own money, coined their own money from abroad. And Neil Keller has that money, some of the money that was found in some of the old homes.
Miss Julia husband, right?
Miss Julie husband. Yeah.
Neil Keller.
There were 3. There were Hunter Morgans, and there were the
Hunter Morgan. Neil.
okay, Neil has the money.
We can go at Neil for
Yeah,
the
you
money.
can tell him what you told me about the, you're the policeman, you come to check.
Yeah.
Get it.